Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, your host. Each week, I interview a business owner or author, and we chat about building businesses. And we talk about working as a boss and learning how to work through the struggles and the successes that come with it all. We share our best tools and our best practices with you. And we also discuss topics that we can all relate to, such as work-life balance, living with intention, and dreaming big. So sit back and relax, grab some wine or some coffee or water, and listen to these women share how they are rising. And I want to make sure that you are connected to Rising Stories Podcast. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button on iTunes to get the latest episodes. Also, the best and fastest way to connect with me is on Instagram or Twitter. If you have a question, go to Twitter and find me at Corrine Sandifer and let me know what you like and what you don't like about the show. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also find me on Instagram at Corrine Sandifer, and I love to do Insta stories. So make sure you're following me and catch some of those stories. My guest today on episode 72 is the founder of the Loved Bible Project. Marie Emswiler shares about how this movement started with one Good Samaritan act and how now it is reaching people from all walks of life. Marie and I totally connected over leadership development and shared our best practices. We also talked about what she calls post-passion depression. She shares about that in this interview, and we also reviewed some of her most favorite books. This interview is chocked full of great things. And tune in to the end of the show to find out more about how you can get involved in the Loved Bible Project. Here is my conversation with Marie. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Corrine. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, I'm so excited that we finally get to connect and chat.
I know, yes. And so, gosh, you are a busy woman because you've got this, you just told me you had 5 kids earlier, and it's like, and you're doing this amazing, it's like you're starting a movement. I think you're starting a movement.
Yeah, so I think probably if I back you up and tell you how it got started, then it will bring us into kind of where it is now. Because definitely, where it got started, it was, I think my natural inclination. I come from a background of business and I'm entrepreneurial. So I would like to say like I thought up this amazing idea and put a plan around it and launched it and had this great strategic plan, but it ended up being nothing like that. And so that was such a big lesson to me because I think I've always been in my mind, like invent something, do something, let's do something that's big. And this was don't do anything. And now it's turned into this. And the way it started is about 2 years ago, my husband and I, we were in Miami, and we just took a few-day vacation towards the end of the year just to have some quiet time, regroup, read on our own. And while we were down there, there was just a lot of homeless everywhere where we were. And I was really stirring and wanting to know more about them. I would not say I had a heart for the homeless in any way. And I probably at that time was maybe a little bit more judgmental, like, well, why are they even homeless? Like, get up and go get a job. And every time I would see someone on the streets, I just wanted to go sit with them, but I couldn't. I was paralyzed, and I don't even know what overtook me, but there was a lot of fear. There was things going through my mind, just like, well, what if they, try to steal my purse? What if they follow me back to my hotel room and do something to me? All these what ifs. And so I kept on thinking, well, we're at Starbucks. I could buy someone a cup of coffee and just sit and talk for a minute. And then it just turned and my mind got, consumed with all of the reasons why this was not going to be a good idea. And I would just let somebody else buy a coffee or somebody else go talk to them. But it just wasn't going to be me. But this was happening over and over again. We would get pizza. I wanted to share pizza, but then I just didn't. And as I went home, I forgot about it, moved on with life, but I had a devotional as I entered the new year, and it said, this year, how are you going to step outside of your comfort zone for Jesus? And I think that's a great question for anybody, just like, how are you going to step outside of your comfort zone in general? And as I thought and pondered that question, it was, okay, something with the homeless. I need to do something with the homeless because I'm obviously not comfortable. And so I kind of started searching out different groups that were helping the homeless locally. And I found a woman, and she had put a post on Facebook, and she was bringing stuff under the bridge where there was a camp, and she wanted shovels and a camping potty. And I thought, shovels and a camping potty, I feel like those are not things where I'm going to get scammed. Like, you're not going to go bring those to the pawn shop. I'm not going to feel like, okay, I'm feeding some sort of addiction. All of these stereotypes that I had with the homeless, I felt like they want the shovel so that they can earn money by shoveling the walkways, and a potty is a basic need. So I felt just comfortable. So I bought both things and was just going to give it to this woman and then sort of check off, okay, homeless, done, I'm going to move on. But I got convicted at that moment. Well, obviously my question was, how am I going to be out of my comfort zone to show Jesus? And just showing the camping potty and shovels is not really showing Jesus. So I thought, I'm going to send a Bible with them. And I had a small Bible, and I just started highlighting things in it and praying over it. And I just spent a good couple weeks on this Bible, and just like everything that would enter, I would bring it to church with me. I would have it in the car. I would hear a worship song. I would write it down and just start capturing all these thoughts as I had this homelessness on my mind. Things would just start coming to me, and I would be looking up verses, reading about it, and just adding things. And so I ended up giving that Bible with the potty and the shovels to this woman, and her name was Christy, and she ended up bringing it down to the camp. So she came back and she said, these guys, there was just tears in their eyes, and they want more. And at first I was like, they want more potties? Like, do they, what more? And they wanted more of these Bibles. And they actually said they want more of those loved Bibles. And a lot of churches and youth groups bring down Bibles to the homeless, but they are they just plain. Buy the Bibles and they distribute them. They're just regular plain Bibles. And which is completely enough. And God's word is sufficient on its own. But what they were receiving was that they saw that somebody actually was spending a great amount of time on this Bible and then giving it to them. And eventually, as I interacted with and gave my own loved Bibles out, they communicated to me that they had never received a gift so personalized and so felt so loved by the time that was poured into the Bible. And I think what happens next is that just them now opening the word, then the Holy Spirit does the rest with that Bible. So it's not the words that we're adding to it or even any of my thoughts or anything to that, but it's the act of love and the gifting of it, not so much what you're adding to it or your artistic abilities or your handwriting or any of those things. God's going to work in whatever you do if your heart is approaching it in love and in prayer for that person.
Absolutely. Wow.
So that's where it started. And as I gave 3 more. She came back and she said the entire camp wanted them. And I said, how many? And she said, well, there's 10 there, but then we have these other camps and we have these. And so I was like, ooh, I'm getting overwhelmed. So I just started asking friends through Facebook, through my small group. And I was just like, I've got this project that I'm working on. Will you help? Will you take one of these Bibles? We'll rotate them. And then it ended up being just like beyond that, I started creating just a Facebook page and seeing if anybody else wanted to help. So initially, people started mailing them into me so that I could keep up with the demand. But now it's sort of transformed in that I encourage, some people still like to mail it into me, but I encourage people now to find their person or their places that they want to go to. So it doesn't have to be the homeless. It can be people are passionate about foster care and they give them to foster moms or foster kids or Ronald McDonald houses. Some people leave them in hotel rooms or they leave them in hospital waiting rooms. Human trafficking is another big area. Pregnant mothers or those that choose life over abortion. A lot of Bibles are going to those women.
Mm-hmm. I can see where those people in the camp were so touched because, I mean, obviously, like you said, giving a Bible, is enough. However, when you are, putting things in this Bible, this loved Bible that are personal to you, it's almost like reading somebody's diary is kind of what I'm, like here, I'm going to share a huge part of who I am and what's important to me with you. And that just, that is just opens up so many doors and conversations with the, recipient and the giver. I just think that would be so powerful.
Yeah, and it does. I didn't even really intend it. It was looking at, okay, we're going to look at the receiver. But really what has happened is that it's just been amazing how it's been transformational for the giver, even more so than the receiver, which was totally kind of a surprise to me and just amazing. But even for myself, it did start revealing even selfishness, like I had put all of these like tidbits and pieces of wisdom into here. And it was like a diary or a log of things I had learned. Mm-hmm. And the act of giving it away was becoming hard because it wasn't manufactured. It's not like I have like 10 Bibles out and I just like open them. Everyone is unique. Everyone is poured into because of my time spent in the Word and with God and through prayer. And there was a little selfish. I just wanted to give these Bibles to my kids or to people that I knew or I would know that they would appreciate it. I didn't, it was hard for me to even give it to people that were strangers or to say like, well, what if they just throw this away? I've spent months on this.
Yeah, because it's a part of you, and it's like I said, it's kind of, it's a very personal thing. And I can imagine that I'm imagining myself doing this and I think, well, okay, so I have like the few verses that mean something to me that I would highlight. But then I would also, it's kind of a digging and of pulling out of yourself. What is it about this book that's important to me? Like, what's the main thing for me? And so that's very cathartic too. Like, it's very like, you really have to concentrate and think and do a soul searching.
Yeah. And people, I think, have become really, their desires to be back into the Word have been kind of reignited through this. And I think that's one of the, amazing testimonies that I hear from people. Also even that we are becoming more focused on reading the Bible through our like app or digital versions. And this is a physical Bible. So I think that a lot of people have even said to me, it's just like, it has been years since I've opened up a physical Bible because they've just gotten so used to. And so I think just even interacting with the pages and highlighting, there's so much, growth that happens even in that way.
Anne-Marie, where do you see this going? What are your hopes and dreams for this, the Loved Bible Project?
I don't even know where it's going. I used to probably like a year ago panic by saying that because I'm very much a planner and I like to know where things are going. So I think the biggest part of it has been I've really surrendered the project, that I'm stewarding it and helping people, one-on-one or with groups to get them moving. But I would really like to see people ask the question to themselves, how do I get outside of my comfort zone, and look at this project to say, is this project maybe part of it? So maybe it's like maybe you're not even a believer and you just want to get started in it. And you wonder, like, I want to learn more about the Bible. Part of it is just like starting and opening it. Is that going to get you outside of your comfort zone? or this may be a person that says like, my handwriting is terrible. Is that your comfort zone? Like, what are the things that you say, this project is not for me? I think what I would hope is that your listeners or people would come away and say, I'm going to try and I'm just going to start.
Given your strengths and weaknesses, what has prepared you for leading this movement of the Loved Bible Project?
So I'll give you two answers, and we can go in the direction of my strengths in one manner. But I do think with the Loved Bible Project, it's been feeding off of my weaknesses and facing those weaknesses kind of with surrender, because I think that it's not so much, the project has not been utilizing my strengths. It's been utilizing where I've been weak, where I've been fearful, and where I've been scared. And I think that's been kind of a weird lesson, because I was in business before. I'm a at-home mom now. I was in business prior, and I was in operational management where I managed a global tech support team. And I also moved into, after I did that, I was in leadership development. And so I think my instinct is to fall onto my strengths. I could give you, what I'm good at and what I'm strong with. And but I think what the project has taught me is the wrestling with that uncomfortable and sort of dependence on someone bigger than myself, kind of acknowledging that, it's like we always want to say that, like we kind of have this internal wrestle that I'm not enough, or I'm not doing more. And I think that this project, my instinct is to say, I want to produce all of these resources. I want to get more people. I want to see it bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that it came during a season in my life where I did not want big. I wanted little. And so then it turned big. So I think it's almost like, is this life that we're living, this practical joke? It's like when you want big, then you get little. Mm-hmm. When you want little, you want big. And I think that's what this project has been. And I think it has really shown me kind of the plan that God has for us is a wise and good plan. But we have to listen, and we have to first rest in our time with Him, and then this doing and this stuff comes from that. And I don't think I really ever looked at it that way. I maybe knew it intellectually, but I didn't live it. I didn't see it actually, understand it.
What have you discovered that has helped you in keeping things afloat, either at home or with this Bible project?
Yeah, so I think that keeping things afloat would be a good word. I think it's mostly my first job is my family, and just being an Uber driver for them, and being the COO of our home operations. And so adding this, I think I finally started getting settled into a rhythm. And so I think that's why this project became not necessarily a welcomed adventure, because I felt like, okay, if things are I'm finally figuring life out, from transitioning from work to home and to motherhood. I'm not a natural mother. I am a mother, but it's not natural for me. I'm not sure the right words, but I always feel like it feels mundane to me. It's always felt like a mundane. And so these last 5 years that I have been home in motherhood, I've really wrestled with that, and finally came out of just really finding the mission in motherhood. And then this project came. And so then it was like, I finally found my footing and I got through this little crisis. And now there's something else to insert into it. But I think that, so I used to, in my corporate career, I was managing an operational team, and it was very operational. And I think we kind of described it as chaotic. It's very real time. We were dealing with a cloud, based system. So it's like the network could be down and everyone can't access anything. And so people are calling and it's, there's defects. And it was a very interrupt driven job. So it wasn't like you had blocks of time where you knew somebody wasn't going to come in with a complaint or a major issue. And so our life was about chaos and managing the chaos, and not letting the chaos, manage us. And so I think that was really inbred in me because I thrive off of chaos and managing the chaos. And I guess that's why I'm here now with 5 kids, because it definitely feels like managing, like I can take that same job description of, it's operational, it's chaotic, it's real time, and it's interrupt driven. And so I think that I do run my home or my life very similar to how I ran my business. And a lot of that is that I am very plan oriented. I it's just the content is different, but the systems are the same. So I run basically, there's a book also that's kind of similar. It's called The 12-Week Year, but I run my life in 12-week chunks. And so basically a quarter. But just like you would in a business, I set up my own goals as a family. And now just the Loved Bible Project gets inserted as part of it. But I look at kind of these 12 weeks or like a quarterly goal setting. And I just look at like, what am I learning this month? How am I discipling my children? How am I reaching my community? What is this season of my life right now? So my season of life, 2 years ago kind of looked different than it did now. And just sort of focusing on, what I want to accomplish. And then at the end of the quarter, just looking back, like where did I come and how do I want to improve? And it could be as simple as like family dinner.
I love that whole approach of the 12-week year. I'm going to have to read that book. I've never heard of it. But it's I love that concept because it's doable, 12 weeks out, and it's long enough to where you can actually have some goals and some, things that you want to put in place and an amazing.
Well, in the 12-week year, the interesting concept of it is that like a full year is just too long, but you finally get motivated to lose your 10 pounds in November.
Right.
And that just doesn't work. So this is kind of like, okay, just look at, you only have 12 weeks. So you really start getting motivated, like week 3 or 4, or after that first month of kind of settling into what are your new goals, then you can really drive forward and focus on, those last 2 months of that 12 weeks to accomplish. And it makes it smaller and not so big in terms of what you want to get done.
That's awesome. So what has been the best app that you've used lately that you can't live without?
Audible.
I love Audible.
I'm a big reader, and I usually have like 4 or 5 books going at any given time. And people will always ask me, like, how in the world do you have time to read? And Audible is definitely my secret weapon. And so I just listen to books, and I do like my very secret is I listen to it on 2 times the speed.
Yes, I do that too. I love that feature.
It is like I'm listening to like the chipmunks reading a book to me, but I can get through books a lot, in half the time.
I don't know if I can do 2 times, but I do definitely do 1.5. And that
it depends on who's reading it. There's some that if they're really slow, then I can up it, but there's some people that already talk quite fast on it, so I can't go that fast.
Yes, right. That does depend on who the reader is, because there was someone and I was like, wow, I already had it on 1.5 and it was still kind of slow. And I thought, oh my stars, what does it sound like normally? I turned it on and it was like, wah, wah. And I was like, oh my word.
And that's my impatience. That's my impatience that shines through on there.
Mine
like,
too.
Just talk faster and get to your point. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I love Audible. And I have, I'm connected to my library. So it has Hoopla and Overdrive. And I don't
Oh,
know if
okay.
you know about that. They've got, and I'm sure your library you might want to tap into that. They usually have, downloadable. So I download books from the library onto my app, which is Overdrive. And then there's another one called Hoopla. And my library does both of those. So if I don't find it in one, sometimes I find it in the other. And if I don't find it and I really want to read it, then I'll go to Audible. But those are my go-to apps as well. I love those. Well, what are three things that you're absolutely loving and you're just talking about it all the time, or you just can't live without?
Oh my. Okay. So I think that I think I almost want to go through all all books. I'm like, okay,
That's
let's
fine.
diversify a
Yeah.
little bit. I So goodness sakes, let me think a second. So
I
I
know
can
it's
start, let me start out with a couple of the books because those are
okay.
like top of my mind. So there's a book. This one's more of I tend to read more Christian authors, but I do typically like once in my whole 12-week year, I try to pick like one business or leadership or productivity book a
Mm-hmm.
quarter. And so this quarter, I'm rereading. It's called The Power of Habit.
Hmm.
And have you ever read that one?
No.
Um, I think habits are absolutely fascinating. And I think if you can, no matter if you're in business or if you're a mom or wherever you are in your stage of life, so this book kind of talks about, it's a kind of a little bit of deep book, but or a sciencey book where it's talking about how your brain creates habits. But if you can start habitualizing a lot of the stuff that you do in life, it starts becoming part of like your muscle memory and it
Mm-hmm.
just happens and you don't have to exert the energy in that. So I've started just like looking at like everything in my life, whether it's so I have like a written like morning routine and an evening routine. And it's not necessarily so like legalistic where it's like, okay, here's how I follow these things. But once you start following this list, so I just have it like on an index card and I start actually physically following the list. After a while, it just becomes habit. Another one of my favorite books just came out as a rewrite, and it's called Ordering Your Private World. It's by Gordon MacDonald. So he wrote this book a long time ago, and I had read it then. And I was really transformed from it because I used to think that the chaos that was around me and getting caught up and doing stuff was about getting stuff done, about doing stuff and creating these sort of focusing on these external habits, for instance. But what this book taught me years ago is that we really need to order he calls it our private world, but it's like ordering your soul and taking care of your soul care. And the external will come from that. So you need to really master the internal.
Mm-hmm.
And the other way sometimes it's phrased, people like using it is like you need to understand who you are in terms of your being. So you need to be before you can do. The other thing that are my favorites right now, I probably have to say I've gotten into a habit where I buy a large, like I think it's almost a liter and a half of SmartWater bottles.
Uh-huh.
And that's definitely been an investment, but I just make myself, when I'm in the car, drink that whole bottle of water.
Oh,
And that has
wow.
increased my water intake significantly. So I think that's become something I can't live without right now.
Those big ones, the tall, skinny, smart
It's
waters.
not even skinny. It's a gigantic one. It's like a
Oh.
huge one. Like it's not even the skinny one. It's like double that size.
Oh, okay.
I'm measurement focused, so
Uh-huh.
it's just like goal oriented. So instead
Uh-huh.
of refilling your regular, your
Yeah.
regular water
Water bottle.
cup three
Mm-hmm.
times a day, I just like seeing this huge, gigantic thing
Going
and work
down.
my
Yeah.
way down. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, at lunchtime, I'm not halfway through. I need to chug this thing.
Wow. That's giving me inspiration because I do need to up my water intake. And I spend a lot of time in the car, either just driving here, to appointments and doing my things. And so I think I need to be chugging my water while I'm listening to my
Yes.
listening to my Audible books on Audible. Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Thanks so much for sharing those. I'm totally gonna look into those books because I'm jiving with you. I get the whole speed on the on the Audible, the productivity, and I've got to drink more water. I need to change.
Yeah.
I need to get those habits to where it's a habit.
Right. Yeah.
So, thanks so much, Anne Marie, for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and the story about how the Loved Bible Project got started. And I can't wait to see what else happens with this because I think it's going places, and I am so thrilled to know you. And, we will definitely be connecting again.
Great. Thanks, Corinne. You're so encouraging.
Anne Marie is one amazing lady. She has so much wisdom on settling in on your new season of life and about leadership. I loved hearing her share about how she slowed down her life and how the Loved Bible Project has grown beyond her wildest dreams. If you are interested in participating in the Loved Bible Project, you can sign up for a free 14-day Getting Started Loved Bible Project devotional. It's on her website under her contact page. Or you can head over to the show notes with the link provided in the show description. And as a special offer, if you send in your email to her, your email address to info@lovedbibleproject.com and tell her that you heard about it here on Rising Stories, Anne Marie will send our listeners a few Getting Started goodies. As always, if you missed something that you wanted to jot down from this episode, no worries, because I have added a whole lot to the iTunes description on the app, and it is also on the show notes at CorrineSandifer.com under podcast. Please consider supporting Rising Stories podcast by purchasing books and products mentioned on this show with the link provided in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and keep rising in your story.